We want to bring in Alex Traiman. He is the Jerusalem bureau chief of the Jewish News Syndicate. He has been covering Israel for 15 years now. He joins us live this Sunday morning from Jerusalem. Alex, one of the things we're trying to do here is get across why people in their own daily lives need to care about what's going on right now and how it could affect them if this goes in ways that maybe the rest of the world does not want to see. Why should people pay attention to this right now?
Well, I think that what people are seeing with all of the protests around the world is that this is not a jihad that is located just to the south of Israel in the Gaza Strip. And not only is it contained to southern Lebanon where Hezbollah is located, or is it contained to Iran and the rest of its terror proxies. It's actually a global jihad. And Israel is the first target, but it's not the only target. And Israel, this jihad actually holds America responsible for supporting Israel. And Jews and others that support Israel are potentially at risk for supporting the state of Israel at this time.
In some ways, this has been leading to this point since 2005 when Israel pulled out of Gaza and then Hamas eventually took over as the government there. How does Israel proceed with its war that it was responding to that terrorist attack last week and still have to deal with the fact that Hamas is hanging behind its own citizens and putting Palestinians in the line of fire after they had launched this terrorist attack last weekend?
Well, you said it right, and the IDF has given notice to Gazans in the northern strip to leave and move south, only about 20 miles to the southern portion of the strip. It's not very difficult for them to do so, but many civilians inside Gaza are being held by gunpoint by Hamas. Hamas does not want them to leave because they want the IDF to strike as many civilian casualties as possible. So you saw on Saturday on the Jewish holy day, Hamas intentionally targeted Israeli civilians, and now they want the IDF to strike as many civilians despite all of its intensive efforts to avoid civilian casualties.
So not only does Hamas not want these Palestinians to leave because they are in essence their human shield right now, but what are we hearing about from, the larger collective of Arab nations this morning, specifically starting with Egypt, which actually has a border on Gaza?
Right. People accuse Israel of causing an open-air prison in Gaza. Really, it's an open-air prison because it's under the rule of Hamas. But people fail to recognize that there's a 7-mile border along the southern Gaza Strip with Egypt. Now, Egypt definitely does not want to absorb the 2 million Gazans that live in the Strip, but there are intensive efforts now being led by the United States and Secretary of State Antony Blinken to work with neighboring countries in the region, hopefully to open up a humanitarian corridor to allow Gazans to flee first into Egypt and then potentially to be resettled elsewhere. And quite frankly, I'm sure that many Gazans would like to be resettled elsewhere because of the immense damage that the IDF is now perpetrating inside of Gaza.
Alex, as we talk this Sunday morning, there are widespread reports that Israeli Defense Forces are massed on the border, ready to start on a ground invasion. Where you are right now, though, is literally facing the West Bank. How concerned is the larger nation of Israel right now if IDF forces were to roll into Gaza that Hezbollah or others might launch attacks throughout the rest of Israel?
Well, Hezbollah is to Israel's north in southern Lebanon. They have 150,000 rockets pointed at Israel, and these are not the Qassam rockets that Hamas has. Many of them are long-range, precision-guided, can deliver much heavier payloads than the Qassam rockets that they have in Gaza. There's already been mortar fire and anti-tank fire across the border. An Israeli was killed this morning from an anti-tank fire from southern Lebanon. But as you mentioned, there are several different fronts, including in Judea and Samaria, which is commonly known as the West Bank. The IDF arrested over 330 Palestinians living in Judea and Samaria in the West Bank since this operation has started. I personally live on the seam line in Jerusalem between Jewish communities and Arab communities in the eastern section of the city. There was machine gun fire at several occasions, and police are very, very nervous that the 250,000 residents living in the eastern sections of Jerusalem could also be agitated to take up arms and to see the start of an intifada inside of Israeli cities.
It's a powder keg right now. We are all around the world just waiting to see what happens next. Alex Traiman, Jerusalem Bureau Chief for the Jewish News Syndicate, we thank you so much for joining us live this Sunday morning. We hope to talk to you again real soon. Be safe.
Thank you so much.